Welcome to the Spiritually Embodied Leader Podcast. I'm Cynthia Gutierrez, the creator of Embodied Freedom, and I love to help conscious, heart-centered, spirit-led entrepreneurs learn how to regulate their nervous system and move through an embodied transformation so they can start and grow their online business with confidence, authenticity, and aliveness for more meaningful income and a deeper impact. On this podcast, we're going to be talking about how embodiment, mindset, subconscious mind, cyclical living, returning to nature, ritual, and ceremony can all play a powerful role in revolutionizing you and your business from the inside out. Now let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to the Spiritually Embodied Leader Podcast. I am on the verge of giggles because I keep implementing the very thing that the topic of the podcast is about into action in real life, in real time, in my business. And it's so funny to see this happen because I'm this is why I feel so called to share this with you, because it works, it helps. And I've used this particular question that I'm going to share in this episode with myself countless times, with my clients, with close friends, that are doing something meaningful, especially if you're building an online business and all of that. And I'm just wow, okay, to be real, I had a guest interview planned and she needed to reschedule. And I was okay, yeah, but the podcast episodes need to be ready to go at a certain time. And so I'm oh crap, I didn't have a particular episode as a backup. Now I know to do that in the future, to have an outline or something okay, if that falls through, then how am I going to support myself? The safety net. That's definitely another podcast episode, safety net. I'm going to make a note of that. So powerful. But anyway, this episode is not about that, but how can I support myself if X, Y, and Z falls through? Yeah. How am I going to catch myself? What support systems can I fall back on in order to be able to get the things done, right? And this particular question that I'm going to share with you today has helped me so much with those quick pivots in my perspective. Yeah, because even though I love sharing the tools, techniques, practices that could be anywhere from 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10, 15 minutes even, that are so helpful with building the coherence of the body, mind, and spirit to come into alignment with the life and business that you're creating, that can be time consuming. You know what I mean? And sometimes when we only have so much time and things need to get done, or you're gonna get on stage or get on a podcast or whatever, you need something to help you immediately, right? And this particular question has so helpful to shift the dynamics of the relationship of the very thing that I'm about to do or in the middle of. And my God, it's so freaking helpful. And so it actually helped me show up today, because since the guest interview had rescheduled and I wasn't prepared with an outline, I am literally just coming on right now with just this headline of a topic for me to be okay, I'm going to create a podcast episode. And I'm stepping out of my comfort zone because I don't have an outline. I'm just going off right off my chest. You know what I mean? And it was uncomfortable. And I was well, maybe I can take some time, but no, I only have childcare for so much amount of time today. The co-parent is out of country. And so things have just been different. And I'm yo, no, this needs to get done. I got to cut through the bullshit and serve, right? Sometimes we just need to let the insecurities, the self-doubt, the worry, but I'm so used to doing things this way, but now I have to show up differently or whatever. And it's just you know what? Just go. Things are going to be okay. And hey, at least you learned something new. You know what I mean? So yeah, how valuable would it be for you to have a particular question that you can sit with, have a mindful moment and be oh, okay, let's shift the energy, let's shift the focus and see how we can go from a negative perspective to a positive and get the energy back and feel more in alignment with what we're doing, and not just what we're doing, but how we are doing it. That's like the fucking 80-90% of everything, right? Especially like if you've gone through a course or some kind of program where there's multiple people getting the very same things as you, going through the same exact process, but they all have different results. You're all doing the same thing, yet why is everyone getting different results? And it's like, you know what? A lot of it has to do with who we are being and how we are doing the things that produces different results. So this particular question, I noticed that it's helped my clients, close friends, and myself in times when it's like, okay, I got to do this thing. I committed to this thing, and now I'm going to do the thing. And it's either like they feel the resistance to even do the thing, or they're doing the thing and it's like, oh, it's a drag. I feel drained, or all of a sudden it feels like an inconvenience, even though like this is part of the dream that I'm building, blah, blah, blah. And of course, we can really take kind of like this inventory stock of the project itself and be like, okay, does it have to be done? Does it have to be done by you? Like, how can you delegate? Are there any systems in place that you can put there to help it be more easeful and efficient, right? But especially in the very beginning, or when you're creating a new project and it's like all of the tedious fucking tasks that need to be done, and it's like starting to weigh you down a little bit. Maybe you haven't gotten a virtual assistant yet or something like that. And it's like, okay, like the way things are right now, I have to do them. And that's okay. Things need to get done. Yet when you reconnect with your why, I've noticed for myself and the people that I've worked with, to help better establish the power of this particular question, I focus on what it is that thing, the outcome of the business, of the project is going to give me. Yeah, the result that I'm like, yes, like this is what I want, right? Out of the business or project. Why do I want that? What's it going to give me? What does it make possible? Yeah. And yes, go like, as I'm sharing this with you, please take mindful moments to let these questions sit with you and see what comes up, okay? Because yeah, it's like we're doing the work. This is it right here. This is how I wish to support you with this particular question, so that we've built up the foundation, the powerhouse, so that when you apply this particular question that I'm going to share with you, you can then take it and run with it after this episode. So if you were to think about the business or project, yeah, pick whatever it is that you're like, man, like I really want to do this particular thing or this overall thing. Yet, like, I don't know, there's kind of resistance, or it feels like the next doable task is like an inconvenience, and oh God, like now I have to do this thing, but like really you don't have to do anything, right? So really you get to do it. But sometimes like doing the thing, maybe fears, maybe it's like I wish somebody else can do it, whatever. And if you don't have that yet, but it needs to get done now, then cut through the bullshit so that you're able to show up and serve. Okay. So if you're ready to do this with me, why do you want to do that thing? What is it going to give you? And see what comes up first. Maybe it's a personal thing. Maybe it's being able to like fucking pay rent, to be able to get some of the bills taken care of. Maybe it's to save up for that, vacation, or to take your kids somewhere. Or maybe the first thing that comes up of what it's going to give you is like community aspect. Maybe it's something that's more outside of yourself and not so personal to your particular life, but it's the people that you're wanting to serve. Why do you want to do it? What makes your heart flutter? And notice if you can feel that sensation of why you want the business or the project. What is it going to give you? What does it make possible for you? What does it make possible for your clients? And is there any kind of fulfillment or excitement that conjures up within you? Continue down into the ripple effect. Why? Why do you want to experience that particular thing? Why do you want to be able to take care of all your bills with your business alone? Why do you want to take your kids out on this particular, experience? Why do you want to help your target audience to experience X, Y, and Z? What does that make possible for them? And see if you can really allow your imagination to get a sense of it, to see it, to feel it, to hear it. Yeah. And notice what that does to you and your body. Also bring to mind why you would want them to experience that and your kids to experience that. Like, how does that expand out beyond that direct connection with your target audience? Like, what kind of ripple effect would that have in their life and their relationships and their communities, right? Like, see if you can allow those effects ripple out even farther. And you know how the ripple waves, if they hit like a wall, then it creates new ripples. And if they hit each other, it creates other ripples. Eventually, the ripples will start to come back to you. If those benefits, the transformation had happened, how does that affect everybody else? And if it's affecting everybody else, it also will come back to you. So then how does that continue to build and build and build? Yeah, it's that reciprocation, the law of reciprocity. When you give and they get to experience that, and then you gain more clients, right? Or maybe they want to work with you even deeper and even more, and your community grows, right? It's like, how does the expansion happen with this particular business or project? How does that continue to grow? What does that make possible? And see if you can get a felt sensed experience of that transformation, of the ripple effect, of the benefits. Yeah, the potential healing that can occur, the empowerment that can be established. And how does that even make history? How does that get passed down generation to generation? I really want you to get down into your why and the deeper why and the deeper why. Why that? And then why that? And then it's that domino effect, right? Because when you get into the depth of that why and you start to especially come down to maybe values, like, yeah, okay, I want to be able to pay all of my rent or sustain my entire family. What if I can retire, my significant other and they can go for their passions? What if I can get that super awesome present for my kid? And it's like, okay, but what does that give you? Essentially, if you keep asking it, you're going to get to some higher level value. Maybe it's more freedom. Maybe it's this all-encompassing sense of love. Maybe it's like, you know what? I really want to be able to provide for my family and have them to be able to relax and have fun. Maybe fun and adventure is super high level value for you, right? It's like these umbrellas of values that encompasses all of that. What is that for you? Because once you can get into that deeper level of your why and the core values that are associated with it and have that be at the core of your being, kind of like it's like kind of like this, I don't know, I was thinking of like a crystal ball for some reason that's like within the heart of like, yes, this is the vision that I'm holding for myself and my family and my community and the world, right? And humanity at large. That vision and that expression and the way in which it affects you and your state of mind and the way you hold yourself and show up, not just to your business, but in your life, that is what we want to tap into. Yeah, because it has a deeper meaning. There's more substance there. And you give a fuck. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what? This is worth it to me. And when you tap into that and you get that, that is what you want to base this question of What does this make possible? And I know I've said it several times already, but when you start to get bogged down by the tasks, or you start to get afraid and start to shrink and worry and anxiety starts to come up, and you just need to cut through the bullshit, ask yourself, what does this make possible? And when you really sit with that and you remember the vision within your crystal ball, within the eye of your mind, in the core of your heart, the love, the freedom, the adventure, when you start to tap back into that, those emotions, that frequency, that state of being centered and aware and mindful and present with your why, that is where you want to take action from. That is where you want to co-create your business and your dream life, because that frequency is emanated and is embedded with everything that you touch, taste, feel, hear. Not just like receiving, yes, eventually it's the expression, it's the output, right? Like a radio frequency. You're putting out that emission, and people will start to pick up on that. Oh, yeah, like that's what I want. I like that. I want more of that. Yes, that's what I've been dreaming of, right? And then you come back, and then it just gets back and forth, right? That reciprocity. So then when the task comes up and you got to do the thing, especially if it's like a hard thing, maybe you have to have a hard conversation, but you know that this hard conversation is going to be the doorway into the next level. Maybe there's a boundary that needs to be set or something like that, like, and it's uncomfortable to do, but what does it make possible? Before you take any action, what does it make possible for you, for your community, for your clients? And when you get clear of like, oh, yeah, now I remember why it's worth it, then it's like everything else falls away. The things that you know you are not falls away. The lies that you have been told or have been repeating in your mind falls away. And maybe they still linger, and that's okay, but you don't give it your power anymore. You take back your power because you get back into the core of why you are doing it. And when you get in touch with that, see if you can allow that to grow of like, oh yeah, this is why. Then take action. Then the way in which you do it will have a deeper impact. It will have a different effect. And that kind of a ripple is what will be co-created in the space. And it'll come right back. And that's how you're able to adapt and like, oh, I liked this. Oh, I didn't like that. Oh, you know what? Like if only I can, shift a little bit here and there. You just refine it more and more and more. So circling back to that particular project, the task, right? The business that I had you bring up in your mind of getting clear as to what it makes possible. When you think about, okay, what's the next thing that I feel called to do in my business or project or whatever, bring that up and notice, is there hesitancy? Is there like, oh, I got it. I just, need to fucking do the thing, blah, blah, blah. But your energy falls flat. Then it's like, okay, take a moment to get clear. Is that really what you want to do? Is that truly what you feel called to do? And if so, if you're like, no, yeah, this is it, and I've been putting it off or whatever it is, I want you to take a mindful moment to ask yourself, getting this done, what does this make possible? What is the potential that is created, that is opened up, that is more accessible for you, for your clients, for your community, whatever? What is the potential of the possibility that is opened up here? And is it worth it? And if you're like, yeah, it's definitely worth it. I know it's time to get it done. And there's that moment of like, oh, like at the edge of it, just remember, what does it make possible? And think about the greater, grander vision, the purpose behind your why you're doing it. let that guide you. Let that vision lead the way. Yeah. And hopefully tapping into that will help you shift your state so that you're more expansive, you have more energy, and you're more willing to do the thing. Then fucking there you go. It's all done. Good job. Like, it worked its magic. Yeah. And I just want to give a shout out to Catherine Zinkina. I'm pretty sure I got that particular question from her. And I think in a podcast, I'm in a couple of her programs, but yeah, Catherine Zinkina of Manifestation Babe, dude. Fucking love her. And I know that question came from her, gosh, I don't know how long ago, but I have been using it and sharing it with my clients and close friends. And let me tell you, dude, there was this one time with my partner, actually, my ex-partner, co-parent, when I was helping him with his chocolate business. And it like we broke through the first hurdle and things were starting to come together, blah, blah, blah. And there was a time where he needed to pick up these like huge refrigerators for his commercial kitchen. And he was like, oh shit, okay, like, it's especially moving and like getting furniture and like moving really big, heavy things. It's kind of, it's like, it takes a lot of effort. It's like, oh fuck, okay. And he came into my office one day and he was just like, all right, so yeah, I gotta go get these a couple of fridges for the kitchen. And I could tell he was like dragging his feet about it. And I just stopped and I looked at him and I was like, what does that make possible? And he was just like, oh, the chocolate, because he loves making the chocolate, right? Like making the chocolate fucking fulfills him and excites him. He loves doing it. It's worth it to him, right? And to share the chocolate and get the expressions on their face and yada yada, and like getting to, eat his own chocolate that he loves. And it's like in an instant, he immediately was like, oh, okay, now he's excited. Now he was just like, wow, that was fast. And he left with a smile on his face, and it's those moments where I'm like, yes, like just cut through the bullshit, show up and serve, When I went through this process with a couple of my one-on-one clients recently, it wasn't so much of like a drag to do whatever they have to do, but they had more of like these fear-based responses where they're just like, like, I don't know how to keep myself from avoiding the thing. And it's like, running their business off of stress responses, right? And so I had more time and space to guide them through their why and to get in touch with their vision and like what it is driving them to co-create the business. And so once we got clear on that and helped them tap into the energy, I was then able to bring in the question of like, okay, what's the next thing that you're meant to do in your business, but you're hesitating, you're avoiding, you feel afraid, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what does that make possible for you? And even though it might not have released the fear entirety and they're like, oh, okay, no problem, blah, 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 right? Like when they're doing it, it's like, there's like different things that can come up and different layers that get peeled away. But it's like they were able to just lean back on the deeper why and the more fulfilling purpose of their business. And I remember one of my clients had told me like, I really liked how you brought the vision in and you told me I can lean back on the vision, because she has been thinking that this vision that's like so far out in the future, it's like untouchable, right? It feels so out of reach. And it's like, then that space, that perceived illusion of time and space there kind of feels more disconnected, that it's hard to tap into because it's so far out of reach. Bringing it back in, getting her reconnected with it and saying, hey, what does this make possible? And remembering the reason, the pathway, the milestones that thing is going to take her to. Allowing the question of what does this make possible, and being able to lean back on the vision and be able to hold it and be like, okay, like this is what's kind of carrying me. It brought it into her, like, I don't want to say reality, but it brought it closer to her and more something that she's able to lean back on. So she was like, it went from out of reach and disconnected to reconnect it within herself and even able to support her. It's kind of like the wind beneath her wings, right? The wind against the sails to push her all along the way. And that's so powerful because, like I said, sometimes it's not about what we have to do or what we're doing. It's more about how we are doing it and the way in which we are showing up. Yeah. So I hope that this particular question and this particular guidance was helpful for you to tap into the power and the potency of your vision of what's calling you and letting it bring out that version of you that is meant to lead the way, that is actually going to co-create that type of reality, because really it's who you are being in order to do the things to have what you want. Anyway, yeah, if you're ever interested in working one-on-one together, I have an amazing new beta one-on-one coaching program. And there is one spot left at the beta price, okay? And I am so excited because we are going to be able to dive deep and go through my 3-part signature framework to then help you learn how to, yes, regulate your nervous system and go through an embodied transformation to be the person and show up in your business in a way that is centered and aligned and more resilient. Yeah. So that you can make a more meaningful income and a deeper impact. So if you're interested in working together, definitely reach out to me in the DMs. There is actually in the link in my bio, as well as within the show notes, there is a free connection call that we can get on together on a Zoom and stuff, that we can dive into like what it is that you're struggling with, what it is that you want help, and if working together, is a really good fit and all of that. And of course, my DMs are always open. I'm primarily on Instagram, so that's why I always bring that particular platform up. But yeah, I mean, even if you have any deeper questions or whatever about the podcast episode and all of that, I just, I nerd out on this stuff. So you're always welcome to reach out. So I wish you well, and I'm so excited to catch you on the next episode. Okay, bye. Thank you so much for tuning in. May this podcast continue to activate the spiritually embodied leader within you. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to take a screenshot, share it on your stories, and tag me at embodiedfreedom.biz. If you'd like to express your appreciation, please rate the show and leave a review on iTunes. I'm looking forward to connecting again soon. Take care.